I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and we're leaving for London to start the tour this Saturday, so things are crazy. We're doing a lot of press, and I just got back from band rehearsal. We were there for 8 hours working on, trying to work out the new material. So
8-hour band rehearsal you did?
Well, we didn't play straight for 8 hours, but we'd work on a song, we played a bunch of times, and we'd listen to it, we'd record it and listen to it, and then just, work on the guitar sounds, and I'm tinkering with the sound of the drums. And
is this because you have to change a lot of things to go from what you've recorded to what you have to take live to the stage?
Not so much on this record, but it's funny. I mean, we literally have to listen to the record to remember the chords and stuff. It's like the first thing we just put the CD on, we were working on Right Between the Eyes and just started playing along with it so Duke and Steve could figure out the chords. But it sounded good. It's great having all this new material. The new record is pretty rocking.
You are in this sort of strange limbo stage, aren't you, where, as you mentioned, everything's starting to go crazy. The new record, Bleed Like Me, is about to be unleashed. How are you feeling about the response that you're soon to receive from the album, from the press and the fans out there?
Well, we are totally jazzed. I think everyone thought that garbage fell off the face of the earth, that we ceased to exist. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone was expecting anything out of us. So just the feedback that we've got, from the press, everyone loves it, and the single is doing really well. I know it's doing well in Australia, it's doing well in Europe, and it just went top 5 here in the U.S. So we are over the moon because it feels like there's a lot of love for the band right now. And for us, finishing the record was a success story because it was so traumatic to record it. But now that it's out and we feel like a black cloud has been lifted, it's great to get this kind of response from our fans.
Well, the first indication that we here in Australia had of the difficulties of the recording process was an interview with Shirley that she did in the UK to say that things had gone a little bit pear-shaped, and in fact you actually walked out. You had enough. What sort of pushed you to snap?
It's probably a lot of things that sort of led to our spiral down into a black hole. I mean, when we finished the tour for Beautiful Garbage in 2002, it was sort of a mixed tour. I mean, I got sick twice. Shirley had problems with her voice, and when we finished the tour, I had to have surgery. The album was released the same week that September 11th happened, which kind of killed the record here in the U.S. And we still did great in Australia and Japan and some countries in Europe, but it was a hard tour. I think there was sort of a hangover effect from that. And when we went in to start recording in March of 2003, we wrote Right Between the Eyes like the first week, and we were all jazzed, like, oh, it's going to be great. For whatever reason, we just started fighting about everything, and over the next 3 or 4 months, we spiraled into a black hole, and to the point where we didn't communicate anymore. We weren't listening to each other's ideas. Shirley was not inspired and was having a hard time writing lyrics, with writer's block. I was hating the way the tracks sounded from a production standpoint, and until finally, I realized all of us are miserable, and I walked in the studio in early October of 2003, said, that's it, fuck it, I quit, I'm out of here, I'm getting on a plane and flying to L.A. I think Shirley and Steve kind of understood that. Duke probably understood, but he was much more in denial about it. I think he thought I was just going for a couple of weeks and then we'd get back together, but all 4 of us were miserable. Shirley had a couple of near hysterical breakdowns the weeks, preceding up to that, and it could have been anybody who walked in and said, I hate this, I'm not having fun, I'm calling it quits. And but I was the one who did it, and all of us sort of went our separate ways. We didn't really talk for I guess almost 3 months. And as far as I was concerned, on the flight back to L.A., the band was over, and I felt ecstatic about it. I had been so miserable the 4 or 5 months because we were just arguing and fighting about everything, to the point that there was no fun at all being in the studio.
So how do you get to that stage and then pull it back again? I mean, what happened that made you all go, bugger it, let's just get back in there and do it?
Well, for me, in December of 2003, I was shopping, right before Christmas, I was shopping with a friend of mine. And a couple of kids came up to me and started talking to me about the Garbage record. And they were so enthusiastic and so, excited about it. And I didn't have the heart to tell them, well, I quit. We're not making a record. I basically, I started saying, oh, yeah, we have the song Bad Boyfriend is pretty cool. It's kind of it's got a kind of a sexy swagger, and the song "Run My Baby's" got a great chorus, or "Run Baby Run," but it doesn't have the verse yet. We're still working on that, and their enthusiasm was so palpable that I felt kind of excited about it. And I went home that night and listened to a couple of the rough mixes that we had last done, and my mind then started turning over. And I think the next day I called Shirley and Duke and Steve and said, okay, well, how do you guys feel? Where are you at right now? This was in December, but then so we started talking in January, and at the end of January we decided to get back together and try some recording.
This record is a much heavier album again. It's really leaning very heavily on the plugged-in guitar. Do you think that this is a positive response to the tension that had built up and then the alleviation of that tension?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we recorded in the start of 2004, I had the band come to L.A. instead of going to Smart Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. I kind of felt that we needed to do something different, and nobody was really happy about that, but it was good because all of a sudden we're forced to work in another environment, and we decided to do some tracks with a co-producer, John King from the Dust Brothers. It was mixed results. He's a great guy, and he got us in the room talking about music again, so it was successful on that level. And we got Bad Boyfriend out of the sessions, but I think what happened is we all realized that the only people or the only person to really produce garbage is garbage, and that getting in the room got us at least talking, and then we kind of like, okay, we need to get back to Smart and start rocking on this record. But the thing is, I think in the time we had off, all of us felt the most important thing to us could slip away and we could lose it in the blink of an eye. And if we're going to finish this record, we had to raise the bar, and we had to play with some desperation, like this is the last thing we are going to make. And the second we got back in the studio in the end of March or early April of 2004, we wrote Boys Want to Fight, Metal Hard, and Shirley wrote the lyrics to Bleed Like Me in a matter of days, and the record got much darker, much more topical socially and politically as far as Shirley's lyrics. And Duke and Steve really upped the ante with their guitar playing. I mean, everything got much more frenetic sounding, and we sort of kind of chucked by the wayside a lot of the electronica and the techno and the programming and loops. I mean, there's still elements of that in the record, but we kind of wanted to push those in the background and really bring the guitarist to the forefront.
I mean, having come so close to there never being any more garbage again, but now you're getting a taste of what could be a really successful album for you guys yet again. Where are you at mentally as far as the future of garbage?
Well, when we finished mixing in December of 2004, I sort of got, it's like I wanted to cry on that day. All of us did. We were so emotional because we were so drained, and it was so damn hard making this record, and I think it's the best record that we've made. Maybe there's not as big of a single as there are in some of our earlier records, but cohesively all the way through, and just thematically, I think it's our best album, and I think it's by far Cheryl's best singing and lyrics, and so I'm really proud of it, and all four of us are, and we're, we have no idea what to expect from each other, in the future, other than we're all jazzed about going out and touring, and we're not sure if we're going to make another record or how long the tour is going to go or anything, but we're proud of the record, and we're excited right now that it's getting such a great response, and I think the new songs are going to explode on stage. I think we're going to be playing with the same kind of energy that we had when we wrote the songs, and so I think that's a good thing.
Well, you said that you tried to sort of get someone else in to produce, but you realised that the only people who could produce garbage was garbage. But during the song Bad Boyfriend, I believe you did relinquish the drum kit to Dave Grohl.
Well, I ended up playing a lot of guitar on this record. It's for me, it was a much more interesting process, so there's 3 blaring guitars backing Shirley in the studio, and I had run into Dave Grohl at a Christmas party in 2003. Actually, it was right after I talked to those kids in that mall and sort of started thinking about garbage. What could we do to really ramp the record up? And I think a couple nights later, I saw Dave at a Christmas party, and this light bulb went off in my head. After drinking a few beers with him, I just blurted out, "Dave, you got to play drums on a garbage song." And he was like, "Okay, dude, no problem." And then we didn't hear anything from him until March, and all of a sudden one day I got a call and said, from Dave's management, the kid can come in and put some drums down tomorrow. And we're like, okay, the drum kit will be set up. So he walked in and played a couple rundowns of Bad Boyfriend and came into the room and listened to the playback and went, I think I need to go for it. I think I need to play a little crazier. And we're like, yes, you do. And he went in and he played that crazy Keith Moon stuff in the break, and then he played all those like metal chops and that's stuff that I would never do. And I was having a gas because I was playing guitar, and it was just an awesome session. And he's such a great player. His band is great, the Foos are great, and he's a great songwriter, but I wish he would play drums more because he is one of the finest drummers in rock.
He's one of those men that seemingly everything he touches turns to gold, isn't he?
Yeah, and he has such a great vibe. There's never any negativity or anything. When he plays drums, he's got this amazing shit-eating grin on him. We're going to be doing some shows with the Foo Fighters in Europe this summer, and I at least like I know in Russia, and I think Stockholm and Germany, and so I think we're going to try and get Dave to play drums on Bad Boyfriend, whenever he feels like it, and I'm going to try and reciprocate and play drums on a Foo Fighters song.
Oh my God! Well, I hope that combination makes it to Australia one day.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. It's cool. There's the camaraderie and that we've had for a long time now, and it's cool. It was great to be back in the studio with him. Since Nevermind, it's probably 13 or 14 years, and it's good to be back in and see him behind the drum kit again.